Hi, everybody. My name is Jose Malvido. Um, I'm the North American coordinator for the Peace and Dignity Journeys. And the Peace and Dignity Journeys is a ceremonial run that traverses all of the Americas, North Central and South America. And we're getting ready for our 2012 run. Um, we're going to be running again from Alaska, and another group is going to start from the bottom of South America, which is called Tierra del Fuego. And for 7 months, each of our groups of runners are going to be running um, for 7 months again until we meet at the Panama Canal. And this run, the purpose that we're doing it is based on a prophecy, and this is called the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. And this prophecy comes from South America um, and Central America, actually, and from Mexico and other places. And it talks about um, now's the time of the unification of the peoples of the eagle, which is represented by the people of the north, as well as the condor people from South America and the people from Central America. So, this prophecy was shared with the world in 1990 at a gathering in Ecuador where hundreds of native people from North Central South went, and they were hosted by the Quechua people down there. And the Quechua folks shared this prophecy with the people that it's time to bring unity. And so that's how the Peace and Dignity Journeys was born. And so since 1992, we've been having runs every 4 years, running across um, the land, thousands of miles, and running to hundreds of communities, native communities and some non-native communities. And the run itself, the journey, the Peace and Dignity Journeys, it's not an organization, it's more of a movement. So to be part of it, there's no charge um, at all. So we just ask people to either organize in their communities, or if they want to be a long distance runner, that they can definitely do that. And so again, we're getting ready for our 2012 run, which will start May 1st. And one of the important things about it is that every time this journey takes place, the run is dedicated to something. And this time around, the run is going to be dedicated to water. And so we're going to be having the message from about about the importance of protecting water, the sacredness of water, and we're going to gather different messages from the different nations across the land, north, central, south, and we're going to get that out there about the message about water. And so one of the other aspects of the run is that when we do run, we carry sacred staffs. We have a staff, an eagle staff, and there's a condor staff as well, other nation staffs that are part of the bundle. And these staffs, they gather the prayers of the people. They're given, when we go to a community, a lot of times we get a feather that's offered and we put it on the staff as a representation of the prayers of each of the communities. So when we start in Alaska, we start with three feathers, eagle, condor, and macaw, to represent all of the Americas. And by the time we get to Panama, there's hundreds of feathers that are part of this, that are connected with the staff. And so we really feel it's a really big honor and responsibility to do this work. And so if anybody has any questions, they can go on our website, which is www.peaceanddignityjourneys.com. Again, www.peaceanddignityjourneys.com. And connections to my email are on there to get a hold of me directly. Um, and depending on where you are located, we can plug you into coordinators that are within the different areas. We have coordinators throughout the Americas, and so depending where you're living at or where you're hearing this from, we can definitely connect you with folks to continue this work within your area. Um, so one of the last thing I'll leave um, before I leave, is that we're having a intercontinental gathering at Brandon First Nation this summer in June. And so we're going to be working to bring people from North Central and South America to go up to Brandon, Manitoba, in order to discuss the work of the 2012 journeys. And so if you're interested in participating or attending that event, again, I encourage you to go onto the website, www.peaceanddignityjourneys.com, and connect with us. And so thank you for your time.
You getting ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see here. Well, thank you. Let me see. I should have another microphone here and we'll get this all dialed in. All right. You're listening to www.earthcycles.net. We're live here at the American Indian Movement 2010. So the Peace and Dignity Run is, and once again, the dates of that are
Well, it starts May 1st,
May 1st,
2012.
2012. So that's going to be a fascinating time. We look at the electromagnetic field shift on the planet. What does that really mean? Do you have an understanding or a opinion about the Mayan calendar in reference to global climate change? Yeah. I'll let you put the headphones on, and I'm going to set up another mic.
So the question was about the Mayan calendar, and one of the things that we do, we have the opportunity to actually run to many of the Mayan communities within Central America and Mexico, Guatemala, and I think one of the things that's really important to put out there is that there's a lot of information out there that are tying to what the Mayan calendar and the prophecies to, um, I guess, Christian apocalyptic stuff. And I think that one of the things that's really important is to depart from that. Um, my understanding about the um, December 21st, 2012, is that the Earth and the Sun are going to connect in what's called the womb of the universe. And what that is there's I'm sorry, the birth canal, and I believe it's in the dark area of the Milky Way. And what that does is, on the winter solstice of 2012, what's going to happen is the sun, the earth are going to be lined up, and the sun is actually going to pass through the birth canal, and the sun is going to be reborn into another cycle. And but as far as what implications that has, I've heard simply that it's going to be the marking of a new beginning of a new cycle. And I've also, so I don't know of too many of the people that say it's going to be the end. But I guess we got to wait and see what's going to happen. So again, part of the work as runners and with the Peace and Dignity Journeys that we carry these messages. So, um, one thing that's really important is to, I've heard about the, many versions of it, but the account that I'm, sharing with you is what's been shared with me, is that simply one of the shifts is going to take place um, in time. So, as far as the poles shifting, that's happened before. Um, I don't know if that's going to take place, um, but that's, again, the birth of the sun, which is a new era, and actually coming from the time of darkness into a new era, a new sun, is what has been talked about not only with the Mayans but many other indigenous nations from throughout the hemisphere. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I think it's really interesting to sort of get a sense of the astronomical implications of some of this stuff. And when you recognize the Maya and their cosmology and the time frames, the historic 20, we're talking thousands and thousands of years of things that are so precise that they still are, more dialed in than modern science in all of its capabilities. So it says a lot for the essence of traditional knowledge. And I think that as a metaphor or an example of how are we going to deal with our climate change and all of these various um, dysfunctions that we have as people, and when we can look at the traditional knowledge base for trying to find some answers and trying to deal with that. So, yeah. Let me turn this up.
Touch base on, as I mentioned, that there's other nations out there that are speak of this time of change. And when we talk about the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, it's actually also based on celestial movements. And you know, down south, they have time cycles that are around 1,000 years that are called intiks, and others that are about 500 years that are pachacutics. And if I remember correctly, intiks are the measurement of 13,000 moons, and that's what makes an intik cycle. But you know, so obviously two pachacutics make one intik, and so they also speak about a time of darkness which is within that pachacutic. And so when the prophecy of the eagle and the condor um, was shared, it also meant that that time has passed and we're moving from one era into another. And so a lot of the different traditional knowledges which was mentioned, they're actually based on celestial cycles that have been measured for thousands and thousands of years. So I think that it's really good that um, a lot of this information is getting out there and people are connecting with that. But I think it's also very important to mm, make sure that some of the other stuff that's out there, again tying it to uh, Christian apocalyptic um, um, themes, is may not necessarily be accurate. So again, um, this cosmology of measuring the movement of the stars is within many of our different nations, and we've had the opportunity to see that within the Peace and Dignity Journeys, again, these runs, because we have an opportunity to run to hundreds of communities, and they share this knowledge with the runners about their perceptions about what's going on. And some of the stuff, you know, it's it's getting out there, and
Well, another component to that is that the simple task of Corbin Harney, Western Shoshone spiritual leader who's gone on, said that, and every morning, um, before first light, he was out there with his drum. And he would always say that the earth loves it when people dance on it, and that that's a reciprocal kind of response, and that part of our grounding and understanding and integration with the knowledge of the earth comes from simple things. And I think that's some of the beauty of traditional ways, is that their simplicity gets overlooked for the complexity of the sort of fractal integration of consciousness.
well, I think there's another way of possibly looking at this. Like I'll bring an example, and this has to do with our relationship to the natural world, of being part of it. We were at a gathering in Mexico City back in, I think, 2005 or 2006, and there was an elder that's one of the water walkers that walks around the Great Lakes, and she's from the Medewan Ceremonial Society. And we're down there in Mexico City in the Zocalo, where the teocalis or temples are of the Mexica, also known as the Aztecs. And she asked me, we saw some dancers there, some Aztec dancers that were dancing, drumming, and singing. And then she asked me, is there water beneath us? Is there water under our grounds? And I told her, yeah, the Mexico City was founded on a lake. And she just said, well, you see what's going on over there, that drumming and that dancing and singing, it's actually waking the water up that's beneath us. And it's, and I was like, wow. So it just kind of was one of those moments where it made the hairs, rise. So, again, she said that the water is waking up. And it's just to speak about our relationship to the land, and part of our responsibilities, about taking care of the land is knowing those things helps us live in better balance. And many of us, we just have to go back to our traditional understandings. It's not just native people from this land. A lot of us have our indigenous peoples in ways that there's been, understandings to how to not just coexist with the land, but do our part to take care of the land. Many elders talk about our traditional people say that we're the only species on the world that is not necessary for life to continue to go on. If humanity wasn't around, it wouldn't be life would go on. But you know that also speaks to our ability or our need to help to continue to move, to be more connected with the land and integrated with the land. And and I know there's a lot of that going on. And in terms of climate change, some of the elders from Onondaga, I don't like to drop names or whatever because I don't know if it's appropriate, uh, told us that, a lot of the climate change is happening. But our goal right now is to minimize its effects. Some of it is irreversible. And so the goal right now is like there's some tipping points that gotta work to make sure that we do not pass, like in the Amazon, um, all the clear cutting that's going on, having the stuff move to a tipping point where it all collapses like dominoes. So that's actually the one of the goals that is been put out there as far as our relationships with the land. And so, again, I'm just kind of sharing stuff that's been shared with me.
Well, and at this point, we are on our way to Cancun for the POP 16, or COP, I guess it is, COP
Hmm.
16 Global Climate Conference. And there are a lot of controversial proposals or ways of dealing things. This cap and trade REDS scenario, indulgences, incredible amounts of money that are being made on selling carbon credits or the right to pollute. And it seems that simultaneously with that, we look at electricity and automobiles being only on the planet for, 100 years or so, 120 years, and that there has been, quality of life existence for thousands of years up to this point. Um, what is your kind of take on how to evaluate or redo our lifestyles in such a way that we can, back off from, like, as you say, the tipping point, 350 or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah. I don't know if I have the answers to that, but
If you do, we're going to send you right down to
yeah.
Cancun
Well,
tomorrow.
actually, the Indigenous Environmental Network has been doing a lot of work, and if there's any information, it would be really good to go on the IEN's website, which I believe is www.ien.org.
It's ienearth.org.
I'm sorry, and you know, one of the challenges with the red, which is the carbon credits, is that corporations are buying um, land in order to make up for their polluting, and saying that the trees out there, makes enough oxygen to offset the pollution that's being done. But one of the challenges is that, especially for indigenous peoples, is that there's indigenous peoples in some of these territories, and so what's happening is there's a threat of people getting kicked off their land, being forced off their land with by force and military means. So, Tom Goldtooth, who's the executive director of IEN, has um, really been adamant about speaking about that, and working with indigenous peoples. And I know one of the things that's going to be happening down there in Cancun is along with the UN work, they also do a lot of work where they bring indigenous peoples together to address these issues, also outside of the official meetings. We did this in 2006 where we had a World Water Forum where I helped IEN to organize, they organized a gathering down there to bring indigenous peoples to address the issues of water, to find out what's going on, to find out what the issues are, but also find out the different perspectives about what needs to happen. And to address the different water issues. And this is going to also happen again down there in Cancun, where they're bringing again indigenous peoples. But one thing that's also important to know is that when that's done, it's also with respect to the Mayan peoples of that area, and there's going to be ceremony, and that's the way to start it off, that other aspect of it. But as far as the sustainability aspect of it, and um, I just think that one of the main issues that we need to address is our socialized greed, our 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 consuming, um, and I think that I am not trying to say I'm far from perfect on that on myself, but I'm trying to minimize what I consume. And that's the individual level, and sometimes people think that's okay if they get a hybrid car and have the doing their part, and that's good. But I think there's a larger consciousness raising that needs to take place, and I really think that the terminology about helping the environment needs to be a shift from that paradigm of helping the environment. That in some ways that's kind of like a that's also I don't think it really gets to the point about our part in it. So you know again, I also am looking for some solutions to this work. And the best we do at the run is that we do the prayer work, um, and we try to do that work on that level, on the ceremonial level. We try to live life more consistent with our traditional teachings. So, again, this next run is to pray for the water and run to communities and bring that message all over North Central and South America. So, beyond that, that's what we're
And
looking
and
for.
and once again, the website for folks that want further information and to follow the progression of the run.
It's www.peaceanddignityjourneys.com. Again, www.peaceanddignityjourneys.com. So you spell the whole thing out.
All right, and once again, we're speaking with,
Jose Malvido.
and thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with the community?
I'm just really inspired by the work that's been done over the years with AIM, and I really think that our generation, the younger folks, it's really important for us to get involved. And I think that one of the what's been happening is that, especially in the Bay, a lot of us have been getting into our specialized work, which is good. But I think one of the challenges that I've seen it's been all compartmentalized, and I think that broader movements to focus on larger, whether it's social justice or earth justice or different types of issues. I think that one of the things I want to encourage is that we start working on broader issues together, because a lot of folks, over the last 30 years, the nonprofits have really grown, and a lot of organizing work and has been coming through nonprofits. But you know, through the funding world, we have to stand out and be different, and which is a competition for resources. But the challenge there is that we become so specialized that sometimes that's becomes a hurdle over the years to work with other groups and many groups, which was done in the past when there wasn't so many nonprofits. So I just want to encourage folks to just kind of take a look at that and maybe help us all build a larger work.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know the lines have diminished a little bit, and it's time to probably go get something to eat,
That's
so
right.
we'll let you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
opportunity.
And this is www.earthcycles.net live at the American Indian Movement 2010. Ouch! I'm sitting here on my knees. I'm gonna probably dart off and see if I can find someone else to chit chat with, and see who we've got walking by here. I can do a little quick tour of the room, and let's see. First of all, before we do that, I'm going to hit the stop button.